She gave her worthless daughter to a human, but the galaxy wasn't ready for what followed. He stood at the edge of the processing dock on Station Veth 9, a rusted junction point between three dead trade routes, and watched the last of the buyers drag their purchases through the exit corridor. The smell hit him first. Recycled air laced with something chemical, something cold. His boots stuck slightly to the floor with each step. The station clerk, a narrow-limbed Velhari with gray skin and no patience, was filing departure stamps when Leon dropped his trade ledger on the counter. "I was told there was an unclaimed labor contract," Leon said. The clerk did not look up. "Was sold off an hour ago. You are late, human. Sold to who? Nobody you know. A crafter guild out of the Dorn Expanse. They took 3 units. The clerk stamped another form. "There is one left. Nobody wanted it." "Show me." The clerk finally looked up. Something in his expression was difficult to read, not pity exactly, closer to mild curiosity, the kind directed at someone about to make a very poor decision. "It is a Zerath female, young." The mother filed the contract herself. Leon said nothing. "The mother," the clerk continued, setting down his stamp, "is Counselor Vethra of the Zerath Second House, influential, connected. She submitted her own daughter into labor registry. The documentation lists the subject as genetically non-viable, a polite phrase the Zerath use for offspring they consider a waste of resources." He slid a data chip across the counter. "No guild would touch it. They are superstitious about Zerath family disputes." "The contract has been sitting here 11 days. Leon picked up the data chip. "What is her name?" he asked. "They did not include one in the filing." He found her in holding cell 7, which was barely large enough to fit a cot and a water unit. She was sitting on the floor with her back against the wall and her knees pulled to her chest. Zerath were tall by galactic average, long-limbed and silver-skinned, with large, dark eyes built for low-light environments. This one looked young. Maybe 19 in human years, maybe a little more. It was hard to tell. Her hair was dark and cut short on one side, longer on the other, clearly done herself with something sharp and not a proper blade. She looked at him the way someone looks at the 10th bad thing in a row. Tired waiting for it to finish. "I am not going to a crafter guild," she said. Her galactic standard was clean and precise, no accent, well-educated. That alone told Leon something. "I know," he said. "I run a cargo hauler, the Nora June. 3-man crew for now if you want the job. It is not glamorous work, but it is work and you are paid for it." She studied him. "You are human." "Yes. Humans have a reputation," she said carefully, "for taking on contracts nobody else will touch." "We also have a reputation for being stubborn past the point of reason," Leon said. "Both things are true." She was quiet for a moment. The water unit on the wall dripped once. Somewhere down the corridor, something clanged against metal. "My name is Sova," she said. "My mother did not put it in the filing because she wanted me to stop existing as a named person. She thought it would be easier that way." She said it the same way someone describes weather. Flat. Practiced. Leon held out the data chip. "The contract gives me authority to void it and issue a free labor certification instead. You would owe me nothing. You could walk off the station as a free worker, or you could come on board, learn the trade, and build something." She looked at the chip. She looked at him. "Why?" she said, and it was not really a question, more like a word she needed to say out loud before she could move past it. "Because nobody else was going to," Leon said. Sova stood up. She was almost as tall as the cell ceiling. She took the chip from his hand and held it for a moment, then placed it in her jacket pocket. "Your ship," she said. "What does it carry?" "Mostly machine parts, grain sometimes, medical equipment when we can get the contracts." "What is the crew like?" "Nina is my navigator. She is from Earth, originally from a city called Denver. She is very good at her job and very bad at sleeping regular hours. Owen is my mechanic. He fixes everything with the wrong tools and somehow it always holds together." Leon stepped back from the doorway. "They will not care where you came from. They will ask." "Yes, you can answer however you want." Sova walked out of the cell. She did not look back at it. Leon noticed that. She did not take one last look the way people usually do when they leave a bad place behind. She just walked forward like the room had already stopped being real to her. They were halfway down the corridor when the station clerk called after them. "The counselor filed a watch notice," he said, not unkindly. "If you leave with that contract, her house will know." Leon did not slow down. "They can file all the notices they want." Sova kept pace beside him. Her face was forward, her jaw was set. Outside the dock window, the Nora June sat waiting, small and battered and already running its pre-launch cycle because Nina never waited to be told. The galaxy had not been watching. It would be. The Nora June was not much to look at. Sova stood in the cargo bay doorway and took it in. Scratched hull plating the color of old bronze. A loading arm on the port side that had been repaired at least 4 times by the look of the weld lines. Overhead lighting that hummed at a frequency just below irritating. Crates stacked along both walls, labeled in 3 languages and 2 of them misspelled. She had grown up in the second house of Zerath Council. Marble floors, climate-controlled gardens, staff who moved silently and never made eye contact. This was the opposite of that in every measurable way. She stepped inside. "You must be the new one," the voice came from under a crate. A pair of boots stuck out from beneath a stack of machine part boxes. And then a person emerged, face smeared with something gray, holding a connector coil that had clearly been repaired with standard wire and what appeared to be adhesive tape. He was around Leon's age, maybe a little younger, with dark brown skin and close-cut hair and the focused squint of someone who had been working in bad light for too long. "I am Owen. I fix things." "Sova," she said. "Zerath right." Leon calmed ahead. He wiped his hand on his jacket and then seemed to realize it was also covered in the gray substance, so he offered an elbow instead. "The environmental calibration in this bay runs cold. There is an extra thermal layer in the storage unit on the left." Nina claimed the one on the right, but she never uses it, so you can have that one too. "Thank you," Sova said. Owen went back under the crate. She could hear him talking to the coil as if it owed him an explanation. Nina appeared at the top of the interior ramp 20 seconds later. She was compact and dark-haired and already holding a navigation tablet. She looked at Sova the way a person looks at a new variable in a calculation, interested rather than suspicious. "I pulled your file," Nina said. "The public part. Zerath's second house. Your genetic marker is flagged as non-viable by their registry, which as far as I can tell means your latent abilities did not express the way their caste system wanted them to." She tilted her head. "Do you know what your markers actually are? Not what they told you, what they actually are?" Sova blinked. Nobody had ever asked her that. "The council tested me at age 7, Sova said. They said my resonance index was below threshold, that I had no useful Zerath traits. The Zerath resonance threshold is set by the council to exclude roughly 30% of their own population," Nina said, not cruelly, just as fact. "It is a political metric, not a biological one. I looked it up when Leon calmed. I like to know who is coming on board." She handed Sova the tablet. "Anyway, you are on cargo inventory for the first run. Dorn Expanse supply drop about 40 hours out. If you get bored, the navigation system has a self-teach module. Most of it is terrible, but the orbital mechanics section is actually good." Then she walked back up the ramp, already talking into her headset to someone on the station frequency. Sova stood holding the tablet. She had been given to a human because her own mother considered her less than nothing. She had expected resentment, silence, work assigned without explanation, carried out without acknowledgement. Instead, she had been handed tools within 5 minutes of boarding. The Nora June undocked at 3:40 station time. Leon piloted them out clean through the debris corridor without touching the guide rails once, which Sova watched from the co-pilot jump seat and noted was harder than it looked. The station dropped away behind them, small and rusted and already irrelevant. She was 2 hours into cargo inventory when she found the discrepancy. It was subtle. A mass manifest that listed 40 crates of industrial filtration parts for the Dorn drop, but the weight distribution across the cargo bay floor sensors did not match. She checked twice. The numbers were consistent, 40 crates listed, bay weight suggesting 43. She walked back to the bay. Owen was asleep on a folded thermal layer against the wall, which she was already learning was something he did between repair cycles. She counted the crates herself, 40 visible. She checked the secondary racks along the inner wall, which were listed on the manifest as empty. 3 crates, unmarked, no freight tags, no identification numbers. She took a photograph with the tablet and went back to Leon. He was at the pilot's console running fuel calculations when she set the tablet in front of him. He looked at the photo. He looked at it for a moment longer than someone looks at something expected. "Those are not ours," he said. "I know," Sova said. "Someone loaded them during docking. The bay was unsupervised for about 20 minutes while I was in the station admin office filing your contract paperwork." He opened a channel to Nina. "We have 3 unmarked crates in the secondary rack," he said. "I need a scan." Nina's voice came back in 6 seconds. "Running it now." A pause, 10 seconds, 15. "Leon, you need to see this." The scan results came through on the main display. Sova read them over Leon's shoulder. She had studied basic freight regulations as part of her early education. She recognized the molecular signatures in the scan immediately, because one of her tutors had made her memorize prohibited substance lists as a lesson in galactic trade law. The crates contained Veth dust, a neural disruption compound banned in 41 systems. Valuable enough to fund a mid-tier war. Dangerous enough that 3 of those 41 systems had burned their own trade ports rather than let a shipment land. Someone had put it on their ship. Someone had planned to let the Nora June carry it to the Dorn Expanse without knowing. "Turn us around?" Nina asked over the channel. Leon's hands were still on the console. His jaw was tight. Sova watched him process it, not panic. She could see the difference between panic and calculation. He was calculating. "No," he said. "If we turn around and they are watching, we advertise that we found it. We do not know who loaded it or who is waiting for it at the drop point." "So what do we do?" Owen's voice. He was awake. He was listening from the bay. Leon looked at Sova. She did not know why. She had been on board for 4 hours, but she had also memorized galactic trade law. "There is a neutral arbiter station on the route," she said. "Station Callow. They have an interstellar contraband unit. If we file a discovery report before we reach the Dorn waypoint, we are legally protected as carriers acting in good faith. Whoever loaded the crates loses their chain of custody claim. The shipment becomes evidence, not cargo." Nina was quiet for a moment. "She is right. I looked it up once for a different reason. That is exactly the statute." "How far to Callow?" Leon asked. 11 hours off our direct route," Nina said. Leon set the new course without another word. Sova went back to the cargo inventory. She finished it in an hour and started the orbital mechanics module on the navigation tablet. Nobody thanked her. Nobody made a ceremony of it. Owen brought her a sealed food pack at hour 4 and set it next to her without comment. It was the kind with the hot interior layer. Someone had activated it already so it would be warm when she opened it. That was the whole thing. That was all of it. She ate and kept reading, and the Nora June flew on through the dark, carrying its quiet crew and its dangerous crates and one person who had been told her whole life that she was worth nothing, learning orbital mechanics because someone thought she might want to. Station Callow did not look like a place where justice happened. It looked like a place where bureaucracy went to get very tired. The exterior was a flat gray ring structure with 2 functioning docking arms, and one that had been sealed off with warning tape that was itself visibly aging. The approach corridor had 4 separate warning buoys, 2 of which were broadcasting outdated hazard codes from an incident that had apparently been resolved years ago. Leon docked them at 1100 hours. The contraband unit officer who came aboard was a human woman named Specialist Dina Marsh, short and precise with the kind of posture that came from years of working in low-gravity environments. She had a scanner and a documentation unit and no patience for wasted words. She scanned the 3 crates. She scanned them again. She looked at her results and then looked at Leon with an expression that was professional neutrality sitting on top of something more serious. "You flew 11 hours out of route to report this," she said. "Yes," Leon said. "Most carriers would have dumped the crates in open space and filed nothing." "I know," Leon said. Marsh made a note. She looked at Sova, who was standing near the cargo bay entrance. "You found the discrepancy?" "Yes," Sova said. "You have been on this ship how long?" "Approximately 14 hours. Marsh looked at her for a moment. Then she made another note. "The Veth dust quantity in these crates represents one of the 3 largest seizures logged this quarter in this sector. Whoever loaded this onto your ship was using you as a blind courier. They have done it before. We have 2 other cases with similar methodology, both on independent haulers, both on this corridor." She sealed the crates with evidence tape. "I am going to need full statements from everyone on board. It will take about 3 hours." "We understand," Leon said. "You are not in trouble," Marsh added, and it sounded like something she had said often enough that it came out as a kind of reflex. "But I want to be clear. Filing this report puts you in our protected witness registry. That means if whoever loaded these crates tries to pursue you for the loss of the shipment, they legally cannot. It also means they know you reported them." "They were already going to know we did not deliver," Leon said. "Yes, but now they know you are not people who stay quiet." Marsh looked at him steadily. "That changes the kind of attention you may receive." Leon nodded once. "We will deal with that when it comes." Marsh took their statements in the small station interview room, one at a time. She was thorough and direct and asked exactly the right questions. When she interviewed Sova, she did not ask about Sova's background or her contract origin. She asked what Sova had seen, what she had checked, and what she had concluded. Sova answered in the same order. When the statements were complete and the crates were transferred to Callow's evidence holding, Marsh walked them back to the dock. "The Dorn Expanse drop," she said to Leon. "You still want to make it?" "We are already behind schedule," Leon said. "Yes. I will file a clearance flag on your manifest. They will see you cooperated fully when you arrive." Marsh paused at the dock entrance. "The two prior cases I mentioned, the carriers on those ships." She stopped, started again. "They did not report. They dumped the cargo and hoped it went away. 6 months later, the network that uses blind couriers sent messengers, not to threaten, to recruit. Because they knew those carriers could be leaned on. And you are telling us this because," Nina said, "because you made a different choice, and I like to know what kind of people are running routes through this sector." Marsh handed Leon a contact chip. "If anything else comes up, use that frequency." The Nora June undocked from Callow at 1420 and set back on the route to the Dorn Expanse. The crew was quiet for the first hour, not tense quiet, the kind of quiet that settles after something has been handled. Sova was at the cargo station running the revised delivery timeline when Owen sat down on the crate across from her. "You ever done freight work before?" he asked. "No," she said. "You caught a discrepancy 14 hours in." "Took me 3 weeks on my first run." He looked at the manifest on her tablet. "What did you do before this?" She had expected this question. She had been thinking about how to answer it. "I studied," she said. "Everything they would let me study, trade, law, navigation theory. Xenobiology, materials science. They told me none of it was useful because I could not do what Zerath with proper resonance ratings can do." "What can Zerath with proper resonance ratings do?" Owen asked. "They can influence energy fields. It is a low-level form of field manipulation, very useful in certain industries, very prestigious." She paused. "I cannot do that," Owen shrugged. "I cannot do that either. I fix things with wrong tools and it holds together anyway." "There is probably a lesson in there somewhere." He stood up. "Nina wants to know if you want to shadow her on the navigation approach tonight. She does not usually offer." Sova looked up. "Why is she offering?" "Because you used the orbital mechanics module for 6 hours straight, and she finds that personally exciting," Owen said. "She is a particular kind of person." Sova looked back at her tablet. Something was moving in her chest, quiet and tentative, like a small creature testing whether it was safe to come out. "Yes," she said. "I would like that." The Dorn Expanse appeared on the long-range scanner at 2200 hours. A wide dust system with 17 charted bodies and a small industrial colony on the 4th moon of the largest planet. Nina walked Sova through every step of the approach, explaining each calculation out loud, asking questions and waiting for answers before moving forward. It was the first time anyone had ever taught Sova something by assuming she could understand it. They docked at Dorn at 1:30. The clearance flag from Specialist Marsh cleared them through inspection in 9 minutes. The drop went clean. They were lifting off when the long-range comm unit picked up a signal. Tight beam, encrypted on a commercial standard channel. It resolved into text, no sender ID. It read, "You made a mistake in Callow. You will learn why." Leon read it once. Copied it to the protected registry channel Marsh had given them, sent the copy. Then he filed the message in the ship's log, marked it received, and set their next course. "Where are we going?" Sova asked. "There is a medical supply run out of the Veth corridor. Small contract, but honest work." He looked at the course display. "And then we figure out what comes next." Sova nodded. She turned back to the navigation console. Nina had already pulled up the route analysis and was making small adjustments with the ease of someone who had done it 10,000 times. Sova started running her own parallel calculation on the second display. Nina glanced over, checked her numbers, made no corrections. That was the same as a compliment. Sova was learning. Outside, the Dorn dust field drifted past the view screen, golden and slow, lit by the distant sun. She had been discarded 11 days ago. She was already someone new. The medical supply run took them 3 days and introduced them to a problem. The colony at the pickup point, a small settlement called Heron's Rest on the outer edge of the Veth corridor, had a missing shipment. Not missing as in delayed. Missing as in the freight company that had originally contracted the run had dissolved overnight. Its registration voided, its dock contacts unreachable, and 400 units of essential medications sitting in a clearinghouse hold with no active carrier to move them. Leon found out about it when they landed to pick up their own smaller contracted cargo, and the colony administrator, a tired man named Dale Hurst, met them at the dock with the look of someone who had not slept in 2 days. "The medication is for the East Settlement," Dale said. 70 families, mostly children. It is a standard regimen for atmospheric sensitivity syndrome, which is common out here. Without it, they manage for a few weeks before the symptoms get serious. He held out the clearinghouse paperwork. I cannot get a licensed carrier to take the contract. Everyone I contact says the route flagging from the dissolved company makes the cargo legally complicated. Leon looked at the paperwork. Sova looked at it over his shoulder. It is not legally complicated, she said. The dissolved company's freight hold defaults to open carrier status when the registration lapses. Any licensed carrier can assume the contract under emergency humanitarian provision, Section 9 of the Galactic Freight Accord. The receiving colony's administrator signs as secondary authorizer. There is no flag, there is just paperwork. Dale stared at her. How do you know that? I read trade law, Sova said. Dale turned to Leon. Is she always like this? She has been on my ship for 5 days, Leon said. But yes, I think so. They took the medical cargo. It added a day and a half to their route and paid almost nothing once the emergency provision discount was applied. Owen spent the extra travel time redoing the port side loading arm wiring, which he said had been bothering him for 3 weeks. Nina ran route optimization drills and let Sova run 3 of them independently, grading her afterward with specific notes written in a small, neat hand on a physical notepad. Sova did not sleep much on the extra day. She spent it in the cargo bay, cross-checking the medical shipment manifest against the clearinghouse documentation, making sure every unit was accounted for. At 300 station equivalent time, she found a second discrepancy. This one was not sinister, a packing error. 12 units listed in the manifest that were not physically present in the crates. Someone at the clearinghouse had miscounted. 12 units of atmospheric sensitivity medication was approximately 3 weeks of treatment for a family of 4. She filed the discrepancy report with the clearinghouse at 3:05. By 400, she had a response. They had located the 12 units in a secondary hold where they had been misfiled. They would add them to the next licensed carrier heading toward Heron's Rest, which at present had no scheduled date. Sova held the response and thought about it. She sent a reply. She outlined, politely and specifically, that Section 9 emergency humanitarian provision allowed a carrier already on an active run to extend a partial cargo pickup within 48 hours of filing a good faith addendum. She included the relevant statute number. She sent it without asking Leon. At 600, when Leon came into the cargo bay with 2 food packs and found her still at the manifest terminal, she told him what she had done. He sat down across from her and read the message thread. She watched his face. She was learning to read it. This was not the expression he wore when something was wrong. It was a different one, harder to name. You acted without authorization, he said. Yes, she said. I can send a retraction. I did not say it was wrong, he said. He handed her one of the food packs. I said you acted without authorization. Those are different statements. She thought about that. On a ship, she said carefully, decisions that affect the route require captain approval. Yes, I should have woken you. Yes, he opened his own food pack. Next time, wake me, but for what it is worth, I would have said yes. They diverted to the clearinghouse. It added 6 hours. The 12 units were loaded and sealed and properly documented. When they finally landed at Heron's Rest and Dale met them at the dock again and saw the full manifest including the additional units, his expression did something complicated. How? He said. She found a misfilling, Leon said, nodding toward Sova. Dale looked at Sova. What is your name? Sova, she said. Are you from this sector? No, she said. I am from the Zerath second house. There was a pause. Dale's expression shifted into the kind of careful neutrality people use when they know something and are deciding how much to say. He looked at Leon. The council put out a registry inquiry on a Zerath female last week, he said quietly. I saw it on the trade wire, second house origin. The listing used some polite phrases. It was not exactly a missing person report. It was more like a property reclamation notice. Leon's jaw set. Sova felt something cold move through her. She is not property, Leon said. She is crew under free labor certification. I know that, Dale said. I am telling you because the inquiry is active, which means somebody is paying to keep it active, which costs money, which means somebody wants her found. He looked at Sova again. I have a cousin who works registry law at a neutral station. If you want, I can pass your certification documentation to her. She can file a permanence notation, which makes the certification irrevocable under 4 different treaty frameworks. The cold thing in Sova's chest did not go away, but something else came in beside it. Why are you helping me? She asked. Dale shrugged, the way people shrug when a reason seems obvious to them. Because you brought medication to 70 families and found 12 units somebody lost and made sure they got here too. He picked up the first crate. That is enough of a reason. They filed the permanence notation that afternoon through Dale's cousin, who was efficient and thorough, and charged them very little. By the time the Nora June lifted off from Heron's Rest, the free labor certification was locked into 4 separate treaty registries. Sova's mother could file inquiries until the station ran out of power. The paperwork was now bigger than the politics. Leon did not say anything dramatic about it. He just set the next course and asked Sova if she wanted to take the co-pilot's seat for departure. She did. She ran the departure sequence from memory, calling out each step. Nina corrected her once, a small thing, an approach vector calculation. She corrected it and continued. They cleared Heron's Rest airspace at 17:30 and climbed out into the corridor. Somewhere behind them, in a marble-floored council building, a registry inquiry was hitting a wall of treaty documentation and going nowhere. Sova did not think about it. She was busy learning to fly. There are moments in the life of a ship when everything changes, not loudly, but in the way a current changes direction under still water. For the Nora June, that moment arrived in the form of a distress beacon. It was 2 days out from Heron's Rest, running the Veth corridor toward their next contract, when the long-range comm array picked up the signal. Automated, cycling on a standard emergency frequency. Owen triangulated it in less than a minute and put the coordinates on the main display. A vessel called the Even Hand was stranded at the edge of the corridor, engine failure, life support at 60% and dropping. Crew of 6. Leon did not wait for a vote. He changed course immediately. Who are they? Nina asked, pulling up registry data. Independent hauler registered out of the Keth system, she scrolled. Clean record, mid-tonnage freighter. They were running a grain contract. She paused. Leon. I see it, he said. Sova looked at the registration data. The owner of record was listed as the Even Hand Freight Partnership, and the managing partner name was one she recognized from a different context. Marin Veth Collective. A subsidiary flag registered under the same holding structure as a company she had seen referenced in the contraband unit files during the Callow station stop. The one specialist Marsh had mentioned in connection with the 2 other blind courier cases. She said so, out loud. Immediately, Leon looked at her. Nina looked at her. Owen, from the engine room channel, said nothing, but she could hear him stop moving. You are saying, Leon said carefully, that the ship sending the distress beacon may be connected to the network that loaded Veth dust on our ship. I am saying the holding structure matches, Sova said. I cannot confirm the connection. I am saying it is worth noting before we approach. Leon was quiet for 4 seconds. There are 6 people on that ship, he said. Yes, Sova said. If the life support is at 60% and dropping, we have maybe 8 hours before it becomes critical. Yes, she said again. We respond, he said, but we go in eyes open. He opened a channel to Marsh's contact frequency and sent a brief message. Responding to distress beacon at these coordinates, vessel name, registration flag, potential connection to previous case, advise. Then he set the approach course. They reached the Even Hand in 90 minutes. It was listing slightly, 1 thruster dark, a crack visible along the engine housing that Owen identified from their approach scan as a catastrophic coil fracture. The kind that took out both primary and backup drives simultaneously. That does not happen by accident, Owen said flatly over the internal channel. Sabotage? Nina asked. Mechanical failure. But the kind of mechanical failure that happens when something is pushed past its rated capacity over a long time and nobody maintains it properly. A pause. Which might be an accident. Or might be that someone was running this ship very hard and did not care what happened to it. They docked with the Even Hand on a hard seal. Leon went through the airlock first. Sova went second because she had asked and he had said yes. The 6 crew members were gathered in the forward compartment. They were in rough shape. Not injured but scared and cold, the life support having already dropped the ambient temperature to save power. They were a mixed crew, 2 human, 2 from a species Sova did not immediately recognize, 1 Velhari and 1 who appeared to be Zerath. The Zerath crew member was older, male. He looked at Sova with an expression she could not fully parse. The human captain of the Even Hand was a woman named Carla Voss. Late 30s, steady eyes, the kind of steady that comes from keeping it together when you want to fall apart. Thank you for coming, Carla said. Of course, Leon said. What happened? The drive went. We had no warning. The diagnostic system showed green right up until it did not. She looked at Owen, who had already gone to the engine compartment door and was running his handheld scanner before anyone had introduced him. "Can it be fixed?" "Not out here," Owen called back. "Coil is gone. You need a dry dock. But I can stabilize your life support by rerouting your auxiliary power through a secondary loop. It will hold for 30 hours at minimum." "That is enough to get them to the nearest station," Nina said from the Nora June over the linked comm. Carla looked at Leon. "How do we compensate you for this?" "File it as an emergency assist," Leon said. "Standard registry protocol." The older Zerath crew member had not taken his eyes off Sova. She met his gaze. She did not look away. "You are from the second house," he said. His standard was accented, regional, outer Zerath. "I was," she said. "I saw the registry inquiry," he said. "For the second house runaway." "I am not a runaway," she said. "I am a free worker under certified contract." He looked at her for a long moment, then something in his face shifted. It was not hostile, it was closer to recognition. "I am Zerath too," he said. "From the fourth house, they discarded me also, 30 years ago, for similar reasons." A pause. "I have been on human ships ever since." Sova had no answer for that. She did not need one. Owen stabilized the even hands life support in 40 minutes, working fast and neat, talking to the ship systems the way he talked to his own tools, as if they were just waiting to be understood. Marsh responded to Leon's message while Owen worked. The message was brief. "Even-hand freight partnership is a shell flag. We have been watching it for 2 months. This is useful, thank you. Please file a full report when you have capacity." Leon forwarded it to Sova without comment. She understood. Documentation. Again, always. She started writing the report while they were still docked. Carla Voss found her at the side table in the even-hands galley, writing on a tablet, and sat down across from her. "You found the connection?" Carla said. "I recognize the registration flag from a prior case," Sova said. "How long have you been doing this kind of work?" 9 days, Sova said. Carla looked at her for a moment. Then she said quietly, "I did not know what this ship was connected to. I took the job because it paid and I needed the money, and the owner's name was just a name to me." She wrapped her hands around a cup of something warm. "I feel like I should have known." "Sometimes you cannot know," Sova said. "Sometimes the structures are designed so that you cannot know." Carla nodded slowly. "Still." "Yes," Sova said. "Still." They sat with that for a moment. It was a particular kind of quiet. Then Sova went back to the report, and Carla went back to her crew, and Owen finished the power reroute and came back through the airlock covered in a new layer of engine grime, and Leon checked the stabilization readings one final time. They undocked at 1900 and set the even hand on a tow assist beacon toward the nearest station with a dry dock. It was not their job to tow it, but Nina plotted the beacon relay so that the next 3 passing ships would pick up the assist request. 3 ships responded within 2 hours. People did that out here. Responded. They were back on their own route by 2100. The report was filed with Marsh by 2130. The network of shell flags and blind couriers and discarded ships had 3 fewer pieces than it had that morning. Sova ate dinner at the cargo station, reading the orbit mechanics module, and then the advanced one Nina had unlocked for her without being asked. In the Zerath second house, Marble echoed and inquiries went unanswered. On the Nora June, something was being built in the quiet space between people doing their work. It did not have a name yet. It did not need one.